What a pose. Hello. How are y'all nerds doing? Y'all doing okay today? I feel like we already know what time it is. It is time for the mobile. The prettiest mobile that ever mobiled. Yes. Ooh, the camera's doing some weird focus stuff. But that's okay. Oh, look how the light reflects off of that. That's dope. Yes. Don't you want to go and save Eva? Anybody in this chat ever seen Igor? I think it was John Cusack that played him in that animated movie, Igor. And now, go get your water, boo. If you don't have any water with you, pause the video, go grab you some water. If you do have water with you, let's both take a sip and get it going and get it popping. So good. And while we are in this space, let's take some deep breaths, because Lord knows I need it. So let's inhale in. Hold. Inhale out. Again. Inhale in. Hold it. Exhale. Did I say inhale out earlier? I don't know. And this time on the next inhale, as you're breathing in, fill up all the available space in like your lower diaphragm area. And breathe into your chest, into your ribs, and into your upper back. Really fill out that space. And then breathe out. That's good. That's good. Good shit, good shit, good shit. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for meeting me back here for another ramble video where I'm just talking shit. It's actually funny because I was moved to share the oracle reading that I did for myself this morning. I was talking to my bestie and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do like a 1-card pull, and then in my mind I immediately got an image of a cross. So a 4-card pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, with a 5th card in the center, and I was like, okay. So I did that and then looked in my book again. I use the African Goddess Rising Oracle deck by, I think it's pronounced Aviola Abrams, and I love this deck. I have not been moved to show my deck on camera, so that is why I don't do it. If you're new here and this is like the first video you've seen, first off, welcome. I'm glad to have you. We as a collective are happy to have you. Leave the bullshit at the door. If you are here on some fuck shit, we ain't got no energy for you here. But if you're here to just relax and have a good time and to listen to me ramble, then I have more than enough time to do that for you. Okay, so the card that I pulled, we're going on some vulnerability stuff here. The first card that I pulled was a card of rage. And at first I was very confused, because my thought was, I'm not angry about anything. Like, I'm actually pretty chill. Like, I'm having a good time. But then the more I sat there and I actually read the description of the card, the angrier I got. And 4 minutes and 44 seconds as I say that. So there may be somebody who is watching this video who you are angry and you don't know it, because you are so used to setting your anger aside, because you give people the benefit of the doubt, like myself, or you feel like, well, being angry in this situation won't help, so why would I be angry? There is such a thing as healthy anger, of course, and healthy rage, but allowing it to devour you is not good. So it's important to find that healthy balance. But when I read the card, I was like, I'm not angry, but then I thought about it and I was like, I actually am angry. I'm actually very angry with the state of my current living situation. Like, I'm very irritated that things are not going in a way that I think they should go. I believe that things could be done more efficiently, and living in somebody else's home, you follow the rules of the people whose home you live in. And I love my parents. I love them so much, but I do disagree with a lot of the ways that they run their household. 5 minutes and 55 seconds as I say that. And that's interesting because the 5 represents change. So maybe there's somebody in these comments. It's time for you to consider moving out of a living situation where you are either maybe living with your parents, or if you have been looking to move out or you've been on the fence about it, let this be your confirmation that it's time for you to look at creating a life for yourself that you are happy with. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who live with their parents and that's like culturally what they do. And that I love and I respect that so much. I think for my family, it's really important that myself and my siblings be out on our own. For those of you that don't know, there are cultures where people literally just, they grew up in their parents' house and then they take ownership of the house when their parents get older, and then their parents just live in the house with them. And for some of you who have really, like, you're not good with your parents, I know you were like, what? Hell nah, that's some fuck shit if I ever heard it. But it's interesting because I actually moved out of my parents' house and into my, vulnerability. When things were getting really like volatile in my family, I was looking for every excuse to get out of the house. So the person that I was dating, his dad had a home and there was more than enough space for me to be there. So that's where I found myself all the time. And then eventually I was just living there. Like, I would just move a couple of my things. I don't have a lot of stuff. I try not to have a lot of items on my person, specifically so that I can move if I need to. But I moved in with him and his dad and did not look back. And for years after that, I was living with him, and then he became my husband. And so I was living with him then. And then when the divorce was a discussion and I was like, okay, I think, we both agreed this is not working for us, we're not happy. My dad actually was like, well, why don't you move back in with us? And it's funny because back in the day, my dad was the type of person who was out, once you get old enough, you get the fuck out, like, you don't come back. So it was a very emotional time, and I was like, I'm not happy in my relationship. I don't know where I'm going job wise or school wise. I just have no idea where I'm headed. And he was like, move back in, which was really interesting. Like, it kind of showed growth on his part, that he was like, hey, we're your parents, we're here to assist you in getting back on your feet when things aren't going well. And I'm really grateful for that, because I know that is not a situation that a lot of people have. And so I consider myself very, very grateful for that situation. And then moving back in and being able to really get serious about my shadow work and my spiritual work and my meditative work, and just really trying to explore different options, has been really, really nice. And now I think I'm in the season where moving out of their home and not coming back is a reality. But I did realize that there are just ways that I would run a household that are different, that I think would be more efficient and better. Not that, well, yeah, that's what I think. I was about to say, not that what they do is bad, but in most cases, it can be better, And so I realized I was angry about that. I was angry about the state of things. And I then realized that rage is actually appropriate elsewhere. So then the next card I pulled was the Cosmic Power card. And I may be talking to somebody in this chat who has a similar issue that I have, which is I actually have fear of my own internal power. And this fear was developed when I was younger, and my family was really big on not shining too brightly because we were very religious, and a part of our religious practice was being like a hyperactive humility. So it's like you don't take credit for anything, absolutely anything. Everything that you do is because of something outside yourself. And I don't think a lot of people realize that when you tell a young person as they're growing up that nothing that they have done is credited to them, then when they get older, they don't, I can't speak for everybody, but I found it very hard to be proud of the things that I did and to even have self-esteem, because I was raised believing that nothing that I did was me. It was all something else that was working through me. And when people would congratulate me on things, I'd be like, well, it wasn't me that did it. And it's like, no, yeah, 11 minutes and 11 seconds as I'm saying this. No, yeah, I did do it. I did stay up late studying for that test. I did, freak out over the paper that I was writing. I did work really hard to get my health back on track. I put in work. And if you are the type of person who is constantly giving your accolades to other people, I understand why it is done. I get it. I understand it. The whole pride goeth before a fall type situation. But it is so important to give yourself your flowers and to give yourself your kudos, because that is where your self-esteem comes from. Your ability to stand up in the world and be proud of the work that you've done comes from the ability to take credit for those things. I mean, a lot of people will take credit for bad shit, and growing up it was really interesting because I was not a part of the community where if you did anything good it was God, and if you did anything bad it was Satan. It was if you did anything good it was God, if you did anything bad it was you. So then I grew up associating all of the good things that I did with something outside of myself. I had no choice in the matter, but then anything bad that I did was 100% me, and I was a shitty person, was my understanding growing up. And so this all created a fear of power. It's difficult to then grow up and to think you have any type of power or say so when you've spent your whole life being small. And I fear the responsibility that comes with being a powerful individual and stepping into one's power. I'm seeing a lot of this. I'm seeing a lot of spiritual people saying now is the time to step into your power. And it really is. There is no time like the present, honestly, to do shit like this. But if I'm being 100% honest with you, it's so hard after spending so much of your time giving it up to somebody else. It's hard for me to just wake up one morning and be like, oh, I'm so powerful. I have all of this ability to do stuff. And it's funny, I actually use AI a lot in my spiritual practice. I use ChatGPT and Claude AI frequently because I'll ask it questions, because it's a form of intelligence. It's artificial. And so what I did was I asked ChatGPT, I said, what are some possible reasons that a person would be afraid of their own power? And boy, did it deliver. But the big things that resonated with me was a fear of responsibility, because I have always been the type of person to where I'm so tired all the time, and I've been tired all the time, barely holding on as it is. And then I've had a lot of opportunities to be in leadership positions where I would be paid more, or in 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So you may be somebody who you are in a position where people want you to take a leadership role and they're looking for you to take it. Or maybe you've applied to a leadership role, or you're considering applying to one and you don't feel ready. Well, I'm here to tell you that it wouldn't come across if you weren't ready for it. Whether it be that you're supposed to learn a lesson, 14 minutes and 44 seconds as I say this, or maybe it's for you to understand your true power and to really lock into that. Like, I remember when I worked at Panera, I've worked in retail. I've worked in food. I would much rather work in retail than food. I'm just saying. I'm so grateful for those who work in food because, oh my gosh, shit wasn't fun. But I remember working in Panera, and I was only there for about 2 weeks before I was offered the opportunity to be a manager. And I saw how stressed the managers were, and how when people didn't show up, they had to work, like they would have to come in on their off days in order to work, and all kinds of things like that. And it'd be different if the pay was equal to the amount of extra work that I would do. But to me, it was never enough. Like, we're talking, I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning to get to Panera, and I'm not getting off of work until 1 a.m., 12 o'clock at night, 1 a.m. So what type of time am I having to sleep? And I know people do that. And 15 minutes and 55 seconds as I say that, I know people do that. And if you are living that life, not implore, that's not the word I want to use, but I give you kudos and I give you your flowers, because that shit's not easy. I've had to do it, and wasn't in a manager's position. But every time, in multiple places that I've worked, I've been offered a leadership role, but I was so afraid of the responsibility, and what I was really afraid of was failing. It's like you get into this position where you're given all this power, and then you squander it, or you misuse it. And I just never wanted to be that person. And then I also had a fear of success. And if you're watching this, you also might have a fear of success. And I'm here to tell you, my love, baby girl, baby boy, baby person, I'm here to tell you that fear of success, a lot of that comes from the fear of change, and then fear of scrutiny and judgment, because now you're in a position where not only if you make a mistake will some people see it, but because you're in a leadership position, a bunch of people will see the mistake. It will be televised almost. 17 minutes and 17 seconds as I say that. And I feel like this was one of the reasons why I started shying away from wanting to be a vocalist and a performer. Because, like, I think I've said this before, that, like, growing up, I was like, I'm gonna be Beyonce. And then I realized what Beyonce does isn't really what I wanted to do. So then I was like, actually, no, I would like to be Sade. Or, you know, I would like to be like a jazz singer, just here having a good time. Fucking improv, let's go. Work on my craft, all that good stuff. But fear of success is a real thing. And if you're watching this video, most likely you have fear of success. Now, there are some of you that may also have fear of failure. I feel like fear of failure is far more common, because fear of failing is embarrassment. That's something that, like, everybody's gonna see it, yes. But fear of success is you don't even allow yourself to try out for those things in order to even see how you feel about it, or where you'll go with it. You don't even allow yourself to get to that point because of the fear of potentially making it happen. And this is not something I heard a lot growing up. Everybody that I knew had a fear of failure. I didn't know people that had a fear of succeeding. And this was one of the reasons why for a long time I was like, I don't even know if I can be a singer, or if I can be an actor or a vocalist, because my story isn't interesting enough. I'm not traumatized enough. I don't have a fear that makes sense. Fear of success, you try explaining that to people. If you tell somebody that you have a fear of success, and they're like, wait, so you're afraid that you're actually going to get the very thing that you want? People do look at you crazy. Because they're like, you know, so many people out here would love to be you, would love to have that ability. And I'm talking to you all. So many people out here would love to be you. They would love to be in your shoes. And I know that you're looking at your situation and going, nah, this shit is ass. It's ghetto. Get it the fuck out of here. But the grass is always greener. So there are always going to be people who are looking at your situation and going, I really wish I was there. And there are actually a lot of people who want to suffer. There are a lot of people who want to go through trauma. They're people who really want to be oppressed. And it's crazy. I know. That's just wild to me. I'm good on that. If I could hand all of those things over to somebody else, I would. I mean, not really, because those things make me who I am, obviously. obviously. But there are people who they want that because they identify that struggle means that you deserve the thing that you want. I disagree with that sentiment. I think struggle, when you're dealing with it, that is what you're dealing with. That is what you're going through. And you have to deal with it in a way that is sustainable for you, that works for you. But I don't think that struggling automatically means that you are more deserving of something. Or not struggling means that you are less deserving of something. And I think that because a lot of people think that I've run into, they then do dumb shit in order to try and have struggles. And I just don't think that ain't it, fam. It's not a good look, if I'm being real with you. But the fear of succeeding, if you deal with the fear of succeeding, I'm going to tell you that the truth of the matter is that the possibility of failure, like, what is failure? Failure is you didn't succeed in the thing that you wanted to do. But if you learned a lesson and you can come back and do better, then is it really a failure? Like, I remember in one of my earliest videos, I talked about redefining what success is for you. And I think it's good to look at and define, what does failure mean? Because when I was getting divorced, and I say getting divorced, I'm manifesting that, I'm speaking it. Because technically, we're still locked in, even though we do not talk like that. But defining what failure is for you, I think, is incredibly important. Like, my thing was, if I broke up with somebody, or if somebody broke up with me, that relationship failed. But then somebody said to me, they were like, is it that you failed, or is it that you learned that there was other stuff that you needed? That relationship was meant for that period of time that it was in. I'll never forget, a very wise woman said this to me. And she said, some people are in your life for a season, and some people are in your life for the long haul. And you really have to live life in order to know who is who. You have to take that risk. You have to get to know people. You have to be vulnerable with people in order to even know if that's going to be the case. And I think there are a lot of people, and you may be one of these people, who is locked into a marriage or a relationship where you feel like if you leave it, you fail. And so you are maintaining, and you are sweeping things under the rug, and you are justifying that this person... Ooh, ears are ringing. So for somebody, you're justifying what the other person is doing and saying, it's not that bad, other people have it worse. And I'm talking to anybody who's in a relationship right now. If it is not working, and by not working, I mean you and the other person are not working together to come to a solution. You are constantly the person who is carrying the emotional labor in the relationship. It is time for you to reevaluate and understand, my love, that if the relationship ends, if you end the relationship, it is not a failure. It's not, because you learned something. You got with somebody when you were in a specific place in your life where you thought you knew exactly what you wanted, which is crazy that we as human beings think that we're always going to know, because life happens. Like, you think you know what you want until you start to experience and live life, and then it changes. The whole frontal lobe developing, like, later makes sense. It's like, 30s are the new 20s. Because for so long, I was like, man, I'm 25 and I have no idea what I want to do with my life. Well, if you think about it, you just started really living at 20 years old. At 21, 22, you are essentially like a teenager who can play a bit more. And then when you get into your 30s, I'm hearing a lot of people that are like, no, your 20s were for you to fuck everything up. And your 30s are also for you to fuck things up and figure out what you want. Like, it's just crazy to me how times are changing and things are different. But I would implore, I'll use that word there, I would implore you to think about your relationship with the person that you're with. And if you are the one who is doing all the work and the other person is not for it, you need to be honest with yourself about the nature of your relationship so that you can move forward. I'm no expert. I don't know your exact situation. So that's just my opinion. Don't take everything that I'm saying and be like, yes, but Tato said. No. Because I'm not like a professional. I'm just here sharing my experience, sharing what I have gone through and the things that I've learned for me. If it resonates with you, I say, yeah, look at it and research it. But I would not say to take any drastic steps just because somebody on the internet said you should do it. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. And you have to be happy with the decisions that you make when you get into bed at night. Or when you go to sleep, wherever you go to sleep. So yeah, I pulled the Rage card, the Cosmic Power. Realized that I was afraid of that. And really, I guess the only way that I have thought about working through it is just... It's kind of like in the Polar Express when the boy was like, they were constantly like, you have to believe. Like, you're not going to be experiencing everything to the fullest extent if you're not believing. And then, spoilers for the Polar Express if you haven't seen it. But then at the end when he's got the bell and he's trying to shake it and he can't hear. And then he's literally sitting there like, I believe what's happening around me. This isn't a dream. I believe it's real. That's where you and I have to get to. We have to believe that we are powerful, and we have to believe that an opportunity to ascend, an opportunity to grow would not come to you if you were not ready to deal with it. Now, sometimes those opportunities come to show us that we have more work to do because we think we're ready and we've got big egos and we're ready to jump head first into it. And it's to show us you got a little bit more work to do. Sometimes that opportunity comes up because it's time for you to move and the growth has to be forced because some of you are stubborn, like myself, and you will not move if you are not moved. Move or you will be moved, face ass. So then the next card that I pulled was the giving and receiving card, and it was like, you are out of alignment. And I was like, fuck, again? Like, are we still doing this shit? Like, we're still back here? And it's like, yeah, you're still overextending, you're still holding on. Let go. Like, and for me, it's in the little stuff. Like, I will hold space for people, like 27 minutes and 27 seconds as I say that. So maybe you're a person who tends to hold space for other people and you don't hold enough space for yourself. You spend your whole day, burp. You spend your whole day holding space for everybody else. In fact, you actually might have a job where you have to do that. Who I'm talking to might actually be like a therapist or a counselor or a guidance person of some sort where you guide other people and you spend so much time, or you're a person in a family who your entire family has emotionally been leaning on you your entire life. You have been the emotional support, you've been the mediator. And it's so important to take time to not give without receiving. And again, receiving can be in the form of finance, it can be in the form of compliments, it can be in the form of people holding space for you, of people spending time with you. Receiving can be in a lot of things. And I think it's really important to notice when that imbalance is happening. If you are giving too much and you're not receiving, then you are essentially a martyr. And if that's what you really want to do, go ahead, fam. If you're happy and healthy and you're not tired, I guess more power to you. But a lot of people get tired of that shit. And it's because you're overextending. My grandmother and my grandfather were these people where they would be exhausted after a long day. They were both professors at the college level. And I would remember waking up at night and there would be college students in the living room asking my grandparents to work on their papers because they would just drop by in the middle of the night. And because my grandparents were from the islands, they're in the kitchen cooking tea and cooking food for these people. And a lot of people growing up would be like, man, like your grandparents were so cool because they did this, that, and the other. And I was like, my grandmother at this point in her life is tired. She's so tired. She doesn't like cooking. She would prefer never to clean or lift a finger, and she's not that old. But she feels exhausted because she spent her entire life overextending for people who would never do that for her or give back to her. So it's so important. It is so important for you to take care of yourself and give to yourself so that you can fill yourself up to being full and then overflow. You would much rather be in an overflowing state than a giving out of an empty bucket state. You would rather it because one is fun and the other is exhausting and the other makes you not want to be here anymore. Yeah. Let's take another sip of water, friends. I know we have reached our 30-minute mark. But I have more to ramble about. The next card that I pulled was the Truth card. And it was funny because my sister and I share a room. And when I read the description for the Truth card, my team said, ask your sister what your biggest issue is. And I was like, fuck. I hate that. Fuck. I hate that so much. And I asked her. And this bitch, I say that lovingly, she told me your biggest issue is that you victimize yourself against your own mind. And I was like, so first off, Morpheus, the fuck does that mean? And she said that she hears me talk a lot about how frustrated I am with the way my brain works. So, for example, the inability to be a well-rounded person because my brain wants to categorize everything and it wants to say, well, no, you can't be funny and good-looking. You can't be smart and adventurous. You have to pick these things. And she said, you're blaming the neurospiciness of your brain for your lack of power. But it's interesting because in other areas, you have no problem stepping up into your power and saying this is what needs to be done. And I was like, that is very true. That is very true. I do victimize myself. Vulnerability moment where I will say, oh man, like my brain is doing this and it's spiraling and I just can't stop it. And that's not true. And I totally said this in another video where I hate that people say this is just how I am. And she said, you don't say that, but that's the attitude that you have. You have a very, this is just who I am. Like, this is just how my brain works. And she was like, you have the ability to work around those things and to stop those things and to come up with ways to bypass those things. Sitting back and saying that that's just how your brain works does not get you what you want out of life. It keeps you small. And so if you are a person who is watching this and you're like, man, like my situation is keeping me in a place, my mind is keeping me in a place, my illnesses are keeping me in a place, there is power that you have access to that you can use in order to help you move through the things that you are going through and that will help you deal with them. For every person who is dealing with some serious trauma, and I'm not making light of it, but for every person who is dealing with something fucked in their lives, there is another person who is dealing with it, but then moving through it. And I know a lot of people I've heard say, oh, well, it's just a difference in willpower. Willpower is a skill. You can exercise that shit. 33 minutes and 33 seconds. Like, you have the ability to exercise those skills. There are a lot of things that we do as humans that we need to practice. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, like, I struggle to do this thing. And it's like, but you could practice and you could be better at it. But then we don't want to practice. I don't want to practice. I definitely am guilty of that, of not wanting to practice things that are healthy. Like meditation, I can now meditate. And really for me, what meditation is just focusing on a thing and really being in the moment with that thing. So I do deep breathing and I focus on my breath and how my body feels with the inhale and the exhale. And that's how I meditate. And I am up to 7 minutes, I think. But when I first started, I hated doing it because I was like, okay, I don't have the discipline to do this every day. If I skip a couple of days, am I going to be bad at it? And it was like, just focus on the devotion. Focus on doing better because you want that for you. Don't necessarily focus on having to do the exact same thing every day. Because if there are those of you who are neurospicy and you get bored doing the same routine every day, I would say you should go on Pinterest or, again, ChatGPT or Claude AI and look up ways that you can work on certain skills in different ways so that you're not doing the same thing every day. Because doing the same thing every day for some of us does get boring. So when she told me that truth, you can imagine, your girl wasn't happy. I was not happy. I didn't like that I was being called out so egregiously. I was like, so fuck you. Eat shit and die. No. I mean, I was. But I realized she was right. I definitely struggle with stepping out of the way and allowing myself to be powerful. And I feel like I just saw 35 minutes and 35 seconds. If you are a person who struggles to just step out of the way and let yourself be powerful, I feel you. I feel you on a deeper level. It is a struggle. Again, when you are raised in a society that benefits from you being small as fuck, it's hard to just switch hit that and say, I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to stand in my power. I'm going to be a giant. This is who I'm going to be. But I believe in you. I believe that you can. I believe that every human can. Because I believe that human beings are potential. And we have the potential to do amazing things, and we have potential to do serious fuck shit. So, I am moved to say to whoever is still watching this video, look at yourself through the lens of truth. Be honest with who you are. Be honest with what you're about. Not with what sounds fun, not with what sounds cool, not with what sounds badass. If you're watching this and you're one of the people who frequently says, oh, I wish a nigga would, or I'm ready to beat somebody's ass, and you know for a fact that's not what you're about, stop saying that. Stop saying phrases that sound good to you, like they sound like you're about it, and sit with who you are as like a real person. Like not the person that you have developed for everybody else, but who are you when you are at home and you are by yourself, or you're just chilling and it's just you and your mind. Who is that person? Get to know that person and be honest with yourself about who that person is. One of my biggest qualms with people actually isn't that they do fuck shit. My biggest issue with a lot of people is that they're not honest with who they are. The amount of women who I've met who've said, I'm just looking for a good man, but their actions show they want to be in toxic relationships where there's constant arguing and fighting. And I look at them and I'm like, just say that you want to be in a toxic relationship. But that doesn't sound good. But honesty is honesty. And I think you should be honest with yourself. I respect a person who is honest about their shit. If a person tells me, well, I know that I have shit to work on in therapy, but I'm just not interested in doing that right now. I don't think it's that important. I respect the fuck out of that person because that is an honest feeling. That is an honest way to be. And I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to tell you that, I mean, I might in these videos if I move to, but I'm not going to judge you. Like, you got to do what you got to do for you. But how people will lie to themselves because they think certain things sound really good, we got to stop doing that, bro. We got to stop lying to ourselves. And then, interestingly enough, the very last card that I pulled was emotional nakedness, which deals with showing up as vulnerable as possible. Like, I think about that video where the guy's like, hey, if I was going through something, could I come to you guys? And they're all like, no. And one of the guys goes, I can't wait for you to reach out so that I can ignore you. And then another guy goes, I can't wait to something about your funeral and know that I could have changed that outcome. And the video is funny, but it's interesting because he shared a vulnerable moment in that video and his friends joked the fuck out of him. But that vulnerability is needed to do a lot of shit in life. And a lot of people run from that vulnerability like the plague because they're afraid. I run from it because I'm afraid of being judged. I'm afraid of being scrutinized. Like, my sister and I were talking and I was like, even though I have no idea what number video this is, but I still will try to adjust what I say because I don't want to piss people off. And the truth of the matter is if I'm pissing you off or I'm irritating you, you can literally leave. You could scroll. If it's in person, you could stop talking to me. But then you have to ask yourself, why are you pissed off? How are you gonna allow somebody else to roll up into your space and piss you off like that? You're just handing them your emotions. And you're going, yeah, I'm just allowing that. I'm just allowing that to be the case. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? But yeah, being emotionally naked. I found this reading interesting. And then very quickly afterwards, I was moved to rest. And I actually went to a Christmas party where we caroled, and it was really funny because by the time I got there, people were lit already. And these were like a lot of older, of European descent individuals who were quite lit. And I had a very good time. But it was interesting because while I was there, I noticed certain things in people's spirits. It was really weird. 40 minutes and 40 seconds as I'm saying this. So, because 4 represents planning and foundations, and 0 represents new beginnings. Like it represents kind of an infinite type situation. So, what was I saying? Seeing things in people's spirits. It was very interesting to navigate that differently, being in a place where I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And what I was supposed to do tonight was rest. And I did. And I had a good time. I had a couple of drinks. I got a little litty. And it was great. The only thing my drink was missing was a lime. There are certain beers, again, only for 21 and up. There are certain beers that I really like, but I only like them if they have lime in them. And I've met a lot of people who are like, I hate beer. Beer is disgusting. So Budweiser, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but any beer that's like just like a regular beer, I don't usually offer those to people. I'll go for flavored beer. And for those of you that don't know, flavored beer exists. Like cherry beers, those exist. There's one that I had that was called the Duchess, and it was the Duchess Cherry. So good. I can't find it anywhere. I think they stopped making it. But there is really great beer out here if that's what you're into. You know, if you want to try that out and see how you feel. But yeah, I stopped to talk about the time that was on the timer and fucking lost my fucking train of thought. Goddamn. Oh, if you're the type of person who is starting to see things in people's spirits because you are meditating on self and you're meditating on what's going on, that's normal. Because as you become more self-aware of yourself, you start to see other people for who they actually are. It's the weirdest thing. I used to be very like, well, I need to make sure I know what everybody else is about. But the best way to know what everybody else is about is to know what you're about. Because you're really getting into the mindset of a human being. And then you realize other people are human beings. And yes, we are complex, but we're also very simple. We're also very simple. I was actually going to school. I wanted to be a therapist. Way back in the day before I realized I can't sit in an office all day and in an office space and hear people talk about their struggles. At the time, I was like, no, I can't do that. But during, the thoughts just be dipping on me. Like, they'd be like, this is a nice train of thoughts you have going. That's crazy. That's fucking wild to me. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what I was saying. Have some more water while we're here. I know we're at 44 minutes. But again, these are really therapeutic for me. I'm a yapper. I like to yap. I realized that today. My sister called me out on it, and she was like, you really like to yap. Like, you love to talk, and I do. And again, I really think it's because when I was growing up, like, I didn't yap a lot because I was afraid of being annoying and being weird and for people to not want to hang out with me because I yapped a lot. But now I'm at a point in my life where I save the yapping for things that matter, such as talking to my sister, or talking to people who have, space to save for me. Yeah, make sure if you're yapping to people about things that are important to you, you do it for the people that support you. Find a person or find 2 people who are supportive, who you can yap to, and yap to those people. Don't yap to everybody. There are some people who are preying on your downfall actively. They do not want to see you win. It hurts them. And I've been saying this for a while now because the haters are actually coming out very strong during this period of time. If you watch any other like legit, and I say, legit, like people who their messages are resonating with you about growth, about coming into your power, there are also people who are not comfortable with that. And so the amount of haters that I'm seeing are going up. There's a reason why Kendrick's whole situation, why that happened. There's a reason. Like, these things aren't just happening. Like, there are a bunch of people who are waking up to what they need to do, and there are a bunch of people who've been benefiting from these people being asleep. And now that these people are waking up, and they're waking up to their power, they're waking up to what they want to do with their lives, these other people are haters. They're haters. They don't want to see you win. But that's even more reason to win, isn't it? Spite. Nice. But yeah. Ugh. Life is really funny. Life is really interesting. How I've started to share things publicly online in a really long format in a way that I have never done before. This has been really interesting for me. I really enjoy it. I enjoy this whole process. And I'm really glad that there are those of you who are watching. And I think that's really cool. And I know these videos may go into the void of YouTube, of accounts that don't have like a lot of followers or people that don't have a lot of comments or likes. But I think if one person benefits from my videos, which one person per video has benefited from the video, it's worth it. It's worth it for me to sit here and talk for almost an hour. If a person is like, wow, there was one part of that video, it was 10 seconds long and you were talking directly to me, then I have done more than what I set out to do. Because what I set out to do originally was just follow these internal nudges that I had. So, yeah, man. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Stop being on your bullshit. Hop off that. You know what you're doing. You know. So many of you don't need other people to tell you, but because you're stubborn, you're like, I need to hear it from an outside source. I'm one of those people, so I get it. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for you for tonight. Almost to 50 minutes again. Jesus. Yeah. Ooh, okay. This is pretty vulnerable. I don't like this, but I'm being moved to say it. I also found out tonight that I have a bad habit of telling little white lies. And they're things that are otherwise harmless. But they're little things so that I can, hype myself. And I only do it with people who I want to be proud of me. If you are one of these people, I feel you, and we gotta stop doing that shit, bro. We have to be honest. Nobody actually cares. Nobody actually cares. If you told a joke and you're like, and everybody laughed, and everybody didn't laugh, you don't have to say it. You don't have to come out of your face. And I'm talking to me. I'm talking to me right now. I don't have to come out of my face on some, and everybody laughed, or and everybody liked me. You don't have to do that. You can just live your life. And I know some of you who have not experienced that are like, why the fuck would you do that? Well, when you are needy for validation, you do a ton of unnecessary shit. We'll just say that. Yeah. I still struggle with needing validation. I'm getting better. It's a process. But anywho, I am feeling ready to go to sleep. Because it's late, because I had a couple of brewskis, and I'm ready to go to bed. And I hope you all sleep very well. If you're going to sleep, if you're having a good day and you're just cleaning or you're doing fun shit, I'm glad that you're doing fun shit. And I will holler at you guys at a later date. Probably tomorrow night, again, because I love these. These are like video diaries for me. So, yeah. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.